Hello YouTube, CreatorJ1 here, and today I'll be doing a concept video for Jedi Master Yaddle or Council Member Yaddle, whichever one you prefer. Now if you don't know who Grandmaster, if you don't know who Master Yaddle is, she is basically Yoda, but she's a female, and she is also has many abilities, at least in Legends, that are quite rare. So she's basically Yoda, but female. Just wanted to get that out the way in case you don't know who she is. But she did appear in The Phantom Menace. So she's basically Yoda but with brown long hair, and she is basically the concept for Yoda for the prequels. Anyways, let's get into all her abilities, damage output, health, stuff like that. Now I want to make one quick note. Her block will not be using the Force like Yoda. She'll be using a lightsaber to block. Now for Yoda in the default game, and my concepts of Grogu / Baby Yoda / the Child and Palpatine, they will use basically Yoda's block for their block. Yaddle will not be using this, just so it's more fair, and I feel like it should be more restricted as it's a Force ability basically. So yeah. Anyway, her health, she would have her health about 750, which is about average for a lightsaber hero. Her health recovery will be about 300. She is one of the prequel heroes, and the prequel heroes will usually have a high health regen pool, so they'll have that reflected here. So yeah, just to make it so it's not like only one prequel hero can have a high health and then basically none can't, like none after that can't. So yeah, anyways, that would be her health recovery from once she breaks her health would take about 2 seconds to fully regen once her health regen has been broken. Health regen delay 1 second. She is a Jedi Master, but she's also quite old. But I feel like 1 second is quite reasonable. However, I think it might be up to 2 seconds, if not 3, for how powerful her abilities will be. So never mind. I just deflected the bolts. Basically, that's it. Stamina. She'll be able to do 15 attacks before running out of stamina. Block 20 blaster bolts and 25 lightsaber attacks. Now, I'll probably would up her attacking stamina to 20. Now, if you didn't know, she's a Master of Form 4, which is Yoda's fighting style, and a Master of Form 3, Obi-Wan's fighting style. So that will be reflected in her stamina. Stamina recovery from 0 to max. This will take about 3 seconds to recover it all back. Stamina recovery delay, I'll give it about a 2 second delay, and health recovery delay will be a 3 seconds delay for how powerful her abilities will be. So let's get into her abilities, shall we? Her left ability, which would be her first ability, is called Moichiro. This is basically an ability that was used in canon and Legends. Now I can't remember what it is, but it's basically like Cal's Force Slow from Jedi Fallen Order. I haven't played the game, but I know one of his abilities is slowing down the enemies. This is basically what it is. Now, this also slows down the bodily movements to the point of death in canon. So this will sort of be reflected, having about 3 different effects on it. So this is a unblockable attack. It slows down enemies and makes them twice as slow. They take increased damage by 20% and have 20 damage dealt to them for as long as the ability is active. The ability acts for the amount of time the ability will last is about 5 seconds, meaning that only 100 damage can actually be dealt to you with the ability being active on you. Now the cooldown time, with it having these effects, I'd probably give it a 20 seconds or at least a 15-second cooldown. I feel like I've gave too many abilities 20 plus second cooldowns, so this one would have about a 15-second cooldown, and I feel like it's rather in the middle. It's about in the middle of normal, of what I restrict myself to on my ability recharge times. So yeah, I'm going to have it at 15. It's not a too powerful ability, but it's not too underpowered either. So that is sort of reflected for how powerful the ability is. Basically, depending on how powerful the ability is, the longer the recharge time will be. Next up will be called Force Light. This is a Legends exclusive Force ability, but we'd have very little to work with if I didn't give it the Force Light ability. And this would basically bring it back into canon, I'm assuming, since Battlefront 2 is a canon game. At least the campaign is canon. So, just wanting to get that clear. Now basically, what it usually does is weakens a Force user's connection to the dark side, and it is a light side exclusive ability. But it basically weakens the enemy you're fighting a bit connection to the Force on the dark side at least. Now this will sort of be reflected, but I don't want it to just be only effective on certain things. So what this would do is that basically this will disable all Force abilities, meaning that you cannot use them for the time the ability is active, and will reduce all damage. So even if you don't have a Force ability and you're using your normal abilities that don't include the Force, or even just your normal attacks, they'll be reduced. They'll be reduced, and the reduce on damage will be double reduction on the damage, meaning you deal only half the damage you'd usually do. So this is another powerful ability. It's not too powerful, but some of the Force abilities are the more useful abilities in the game. Now, if this will leave some heroes defenseless, like Darth Vader, at least in their Force abilities. Now, the lightsaber throw is actually a Force ability, according to lore. I don't really count it as a Force ability, but to be fair, it does not really matter. So this one would be more of a what you think should be. I'd probably put it on to cooldown for lightsaber throw, for how powerful it can make a hero, because this is the only weapon to get into range, really, if they don't have a ranged ability. That allows a lot of range. So yeah, the lightsaber throw is usually just that ability that allows it. So yeah, the amount of time it will last will be about 8 seconds. So this makes Yaddle pretty powerful already. Now this ability will not be blockable as well, but the last ability only will affect her. Now this isn't like Yoda's presence ability, but basically any damage from abilities, if this ability is active, as long as she's in the radius of the ability, and as long as it's an ability that makes sense for it to do this will basically be called absorb. and this will basically make her absorb all damage from certain abilities. Certain abilities, like, for an example, damage from, like, I know this is an ability, but it will absorb some damage from different things. Like this, it will be basically another way to absorb blaster bolts, and this will also absorb secondary fires and basically explosive abilities, as well as force abilities. Basically anything that makes sense to get absorbed will be done. Now this is a reference to a legend on her legend's death. She basically grabs a bomb that was basically going to destroy Coruscant or something like that, and basically what ended up happening was that she absorbed basically all the energy out of it, but ended up killing her in the process, sadly. So this is what the ability basically is. This only will affect her though, so this is an ability that will only affect her. So yeah, the cooldown for Force Light will be about a 20 seconds cooldown, since it disables your abilities and reduces your damage. Now the right ability, this, which is the absorb, this will have about, since it's more of a self-defense ability but also it's like a team ability, this will have about a 15-second cooldown. It's a mixture between each one. Now I didn't go over her swing speed. I'd probably give her the swing speed of Luke for how slow Yoda's attacks are if he does not even attempt to parry. So this is why that will be at that kind of range. It will have about the attack swing speed of about Luke. And this is also how Yoda would probably do if I was to make him in the game. Anyways, the first star card, this would increase her health. This would not be too big. I don't want it to be like rather large, where it's like Vader and Anakin and they get up to 900 or 900 plus health or max. I do not want it to be like that. So this one would go from 20 to 40 to 80 to 50 extra health, giving her 800 health to work with. Now I feel like this is a useful ability for her. Not too powerful, but not too weak at the same time. So next up, this one would, I didn't go over her damage, her damage output. She'd be able to do 130 damage from the front on infantry, 120 on heroes and 134 reinforcements as well, and 150 at the back of infantry and reinforcements, and 140 for all heroes. So that's damage output is out the way. This would increase the damage output. This would go from 10 to 15 to 20. This is to go from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. So this would basically give it 20 extra damage to work with. So this would make it go to 150 on the front for infantry and 140 on the front for all heroes, and 150 for reinforcements, and 200 at the back for reinforcements and infantry, 190 at the back for all heroes. So now that star card's out the way, we can get into a next star card. This one will give a damage reduction. This will go from 2% to 6% to 8% to 10% extra damage to 10% damage reduction. Next star card. Now I don't really want to edit her abilities too much, so that's why I'm not really doing too many ability star cards for her, because I think if I do that, she will become a bit too overpowered and be somewhere along the lines of probably Count Dooku or Vader power. And I don't want it to be that powerful, but I still want it to be powerful. So this one, the damage the enemies take while Moritro is active will be increased on the increased damage. This will be very minor though. It's already upped by 20%. This will go to 1 extra damage, 2, then 4, then 6. So she will be able to deal 6 extra damage once it's maxed out. And I'm going to, once I say the maxed out version of the cards, I will say what I will begin to refer it to the maximum out part of the cards. Now next, this will basically, this one will probably increase the time of force light, so I don't want it to be too long, so it'll go from 0.1 to 0.5 to 0.9 to 1. So she gets 1 extra seconds, having it last 6 seconds instead of the normal 5. Next up, she is able to absorb more damage, and yes, she can absorb damage, but she still takes damage, but it's reduced by 80% while she's absorbing all the damage in the left ability, absorb. This will decrease the amount of damage she will take. This will go from 2%, 5%, 6%, and then probably will go from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, giving her 85% of damage reduction at max. So she doesn't get too much damage reduction, as she still needs to take a bit of damage. Next up, what should I do for this ability? I mean, this star card, not ability. I'd probably make this increase her stamina. So her stamina is already pretty high. So what I'll make this do is increase it from 1 to 2, from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. But this will make her health recovery delay slightly longer by 1 second. So she has a 3 seconds or 2 seconds delay on the health recovery, doesn't she? So this was up it to 3 seconds or 4 seconds on the delay. So this is not a too useful card if this is going to be done. Next up, this will basically I don't want to do a star card where it decreases the ability recharge time, so that's why I'm often getting stuck right now, and I don't want to do too many ability cards because I know too many and more people will probably begin to use them if she was ever added in the game like this. Probably the description of it would be: the Force Light ability is stronger and brighter, reducing enemies' damage more. So basically this would reduce their damage more. This would go from, so it's already at 50%, so this would go from 1% to 5% to 9% to about 10%, giving them 40% of their normal damage on everything they can do. So this is a powerful ability for Yaddle. Now lastly, the damage dealt to enemies while the while Moritro is increased ever so slightly. So this will go from 1 to 2 to 4 to 5. So they'll have 25 damage dealt to them per second. So this is slightly increased. Now there's not going to be any emotes or voice lines for her right now because she never spoke in the prequels, so she will not have any of those from me, sadly. But I will give her 3 appearances. 2 of them are morely for what I'd like to see, but the main one would be her Jedi Master appearance. This would basically be the appearance she had in The Phantom Menace. Next appearance would be called Old Master or something like that, and basically this will just make her hair more grey, but more white, and make her look a bit older. Now this is where my headcanon sort of comes in. In my headcanon, Yaddle actually survived the Clone Wars. She fought in them and basically went to Dagobah with Yoda. I would sometimes visit Tatooine, but when she was on her trip, one the times she was going on a trip to Tatooine, Vader basically catched her. Basically the Death Star came out of hyperspace. Then they began to duel, but Vader bested Yaddle because of her age. She was not as fast as she used to be. Now she would be available if we're going by these skins in the prequel and original trilogy eras. Last skin would be Force Ghost. This would be her original trilogy skin, which is Old Master, but she looks more like a Force Ghost. So that's basically it for Grandmaster. No, not Grandmaster Yaddle. Why do I keep on saying it? Probably because she and Yoda are basically the same species. So that's it for Master Yaddle, or Yaddle for short, you could say, or Jedi Master Yaddle, whichever one you prefer. Tell me what you think of how she would play in the comments. Think if she would be a fun hero or not. I think she'd be a fun hero to use. Probably would be a bit powerful, but for how her star cards are, and I can't really pick any star cards other than the health star cards to really improve her, because I'm beginning to forget some of the star cards. I usually forget some of the star cards anyway, and I just go by the ones that I think are the best that I remember. So yeah, don't always remember the star cards. However, this one for Yaddle, I think she'll be a pretty fun hero. Will be a bit powerful, but I think her right ability will be quite powerful because she absorbs all damage from basically all directions. And if anyone is in near range of it and they would have been in range of the ability, she would just absorb all the damage. Still taking damage though. So that will be it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. And next one will be Queen Amidala, or Padme Amidala.